Welcome to video number 197 of Walker This Way with Hazel Walker, the queen of all things. I should,
E&I
yes,
and networking
yes, I
and
should say the
coffee
queen bee of all things
and coffee.
and coffee. Yeah, definitely have your coffee. Having a
I'm doing
coffee
that.
will make this whole video easier to take in too, I think.
Oh, well, I'm doing fasting. So I'm doing that 16/8 fasting. So 16 hours off and 8 hours on. So I get my coffee really late in the morning.
Yeah. I do fasting too, but that's where I eat a lot of meals really, really fast.
Really.
Yeah, that's my fasting. So, we all have our version of fasting.
Yeah, we do. That's
Yeah.
it's all
Hey,
good.
that's a good segue. Funny how we don't talk about any of this stuff. It just comes up for us. So we've just um we're actually not just we're in the process of going through leadership team transition, which means we're going through leadership team training and orientation. And for combined BC and Indiana, we've put through close to 600 members right now over the last couple of weeks. And I know in all the sessions that we do when we do the breakouts for the different roles, we go over the policies.
Hmm.
And it's having our own version of, we have policies, and then sometimes people have their own version of said policies. But we do have policies, and there's only 11, and we have them for a reason. So this is probably a good place to start talking about the BNI policies, because the questions come up a lot for us during the trainings.
So we probably should talk about the why
Okay.
we have policies. Like,
Oh, perfect.
why do we have them? Right? So I met with a BNI chapter yesterday and we talked about they're trying to figure out how to get their chapter back on track. And what I said to them is the first thing you need to do is put the system back in place.
Mm-hmm.
You've broken the system, right? So there are only two things that make up the system at the level of a chapter, and that is the agenda, how we manage the agenda, every part of that agenda, how it works. That's a very important part of the system. And number two are the policies.
Mm-hmm.
And how they're implemented. And it sets us apart from every other organization in the world. I can't tell you how many networking groups that that are they're everywhere, right? They're everywhere. And as a matter of fact, I was at a business expo and there was another networking group there. And they used to be very large. They're pretty small now, but they used to be very large. And they were overheard going, and we're only $150 a year, which is really cheaper than that other big organization,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, they are cheaper and they don't have any policies around attendance or anything like that. And that's okay. I actually do send people to them, right? Because they're not really ready to come into BNI yet. And people will say to me, and we've had quite a few join from an organization that's kind of collapsed here, and they've said, the problem is no one ever shows up.
Mm-hmm.
No one ever shows up, and those that do show up don't really do anything. So our policies set us apart because it creates accountability. It creates showing up. We have an attendance policy, so it creates showing up. And those policies have gone from 18 to 11 because we got way more specific about what was policy and what was administration kinds of work. And they are the thing that, and we have a membership committee who is highly trained on how to implement the policy and how to manage the chapter in an effective way that keeps people engaged, keeps people accountable, and keeps the policies in place.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those policies aren't written by you and I.
I'm not writing policy.
They're the same policies all over the world. Everybody uses the same policies. Now, they may be tweaked a little bit on how they're implemented based on local law,
Right.
right? Local law says how you can implement these things, or if you're even allowed to. So that is the big deal. But where they come from is from the International Board of Advisors. And the International Board of Advisors just a few years ago sat down and looked at the 18 policies and went, yeah, these aren't really policies. These are administration. And these are the important things that we need to be on top of. Now, that board is made up of one designated member per franchise.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of people on that board, and they're not always all working together. Sometimes it's just like 1/3 or 1/2 or something. I'm not real sure how they do that, but because I've never been on that board as an executive director, that board is made up of members, and those members look at those policies and they decide what is important and what is not important. For instance, when B&I originally started as the network, and I think it was even a different name, Ivan had a different name than that the first time, the chapters used to meet every other week.
Mhm.
And that board came together and said, you know what? We need to be meeting weekly. And as soon as they implemented that, the chapters started making a whole lot more money. The members began making more money and passing more referrals because they could quantify it. The other thing that they used to allow, and the board, that board of international board went, yeah, this isn't working, is they used to say you could be a member of multiple chapters as long as it was 40 miles, I think it was 40 or 50 miles away from the other chapter. So you could be in this one and way over in this one.
Mhm.
That didn't work either. So they got rid of it. You have to pick one chapter because you're building relationships and loyalty and trust. And how can you serve two masters? It's not possible to do that effectively. So they got rid of that one, right? So they review the policies, they look at the policies, and they decide what is beneficial to the members in the chapter and what is not beneficial to the members in the chapters. And I will tell you, not all people like structure.
What? No.
I actually was one of those. When I first started, it's like, I'll just be honest. I started the group that I was a member of. I didn't like the policies. I didn't like them. So I changed them. Almost all of them. Everyone. But over time, our chapter went from like 30 members to like 6 members.
Yep.
It just went, and it shrunk the chapter because we weren't doing attendance and we didn't care about subs, and we would roam around and meet in all different places, and we just, and then I realized, oh, those policies really do work.
Right.
If you've got a strong membership committee who will actually hold people accountable to them.
Right.
The challenge we have, Mark, and Ivan has talked about this, the challenge we have is B&I teaches us how to build strong relationships, right? That's in our mission statement, to build strong relationships with one another. That's the really positive thing we do, is teach people how to build strong relationships based on trust so we can refer one another. The problem with that is we teach you how to build strong relationships that become friendships. And friends don't like to hold friends accountable.
They do not.
They do not. Like when my friend and I used to work out at the gym, if one of us decided we didn't want to work out, we'd just go get an ice cream cone. And the other friend would go, okay. And wouldn't hold us, we wouldn't hold each other accountable because we were friends, right? So that the policies are really important, because if you look at all the chapters that are shrinking and that are smaller, you'll notice that they don't enforce policy.
Nope, they don't.
And they also don't explain the policies to their applicants before they accept the application, right? That would be the first thing you should be doing, is say, hey, Mark, happy to have you apply for the chapter. Would love to have you. Do you understand that we have a system, and part of that system is policies?
Right.
And here's what would be expected of you if you accept and decide to actually move forward and come into the chapter. Right? And then you
Yeah.
have, if you hate structure, you have the right to go, no way. Because I had a guy tell me at the expo the other day, he goes, I loved BNI. He goes, but I struggle with that
Right.
kind of structure.
You know, it's an interesting thing about the policies and setting expectations, because it is actually written on the application form. And when you sign on the dotted line, it's part of what you're signing on, and it's the policies are right there. And so, you know, I lived in a building a few years back. When we bought it, was really clear that there was no pets allowed in the building. There's no pets, no pets. Everybody knew that if you're going to buy here, it's a no pet building. It's just the way it was. And then sometimes people would bring in a pet after they buy. Oh, well, I didn't think it was real.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Or, oh, I don't like it. It's a stupid rule and they should allow it. But you know what you're getting into ahead of time, and you can't change it on the other end. But a lot of times I know for chapters, they know, but we're going to change it anyways.
I hate HOAs. I say that from the bottom of my heart. I hate HOAs. I hate that they tell me what to do with my property and this, that, and the other, right? But when I complained about it and I was talking to an attorney about it, he goes, you knew what you were doing because you had to sign that agreement before
Exactly.
you closed on your house.
Yeah.
You knew the rules before you closed, and you closed anyway. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's why I know it's written on the application, but the membership committee, when they're doing their interview, should make sure that they're checking off that they understand all of those.
Yeah. So I think as members, we need to remember a couple of things. Number one, we did not join BNI to make more friends. It's a result of it, but that's for most, we're not paying a fee because I need more friends in my life. We joined to grow our business.
Mm-hmm.
And the way we grow our business is by, you know, trust in the system, use the system, don't need to change it. The policies are a big part of that. And it's also about how to grow membership in your chapter. More members is more dollars. That's real simple math too.
Yep. And the policies protect you. If you just follow the system the way we've got it, the letters are written, everything's there. It protects you, right? If someone says, I'm going to sue you, but you signed off.
Yeah. And it comes down to one thing, it's perspective. And the perspective is your chapter is a business. Run it like a business. Your company that you work for or that you own probably has policies. In fact, your relationship that you're in, personal one, has a policy, but we call them boundaries. But it's still a policy. What you'll accept, what you won't, still there. And so it's all over the place. And when you run it like a business, these policies are super important. When you run it like a social club, they don't matter, but they also don't make money.
Yeah, what I tell chapters that are struggling is, you know what? You need to set your standards. And the minimum standard is just enforcing the policies and requiring the power of one. That's just minimum standards. And if you're below the minimum standards, then yeah, you are struggling, and it doesn't work. The policies are really important. It's not to beat you up, but they're there for your success. People, I pay a lot of money for my coach, my fitness coach, because he holds me accountable.
Right.
And accountability gets results.
Accountability key.
That's when I gave up. That's when I went, okay, I'm in for the policies.
Yeah. So you're probably asking yourselves about the policies. What do they mean? What's the impact of doing them or not doing them? That's a great question. And we're going to let you know, but not today, because our plan is to go through
each
11 policies one at a time.
And do a video on each and every one of them, especially since the educational coordinators can use it to help teach the chapter. Yeah.
So next week, join us where we're going to talk about why one classification per seat in a chapter.
One person per classification and one classification per person.
That's right.
Policy number 1.
We're going to talk more about that. But for now, you know, we have policies for a reason. Till next time, Hazel Walker.
See you then.
Bye.